out to another episode of It's All Been Trek Before. This is one of those bonus episodes. Yeah, Jimmy-Jerome welcomes back Andy Batt. They're going to talk about Picard Season 1. Yeah, Keith and I are going to come in a little later. 2032, put it on your calendar. Check it out then. But right now, check out Picard Season 1 with Jimmy-Jerome and Andy Batt. But before you do that, mark your calendar. May 9th, IBD. You're saying, what? Back where? No, they're not at Mad Lab. They're on their YouTube page. 5 o'clock, May 9th. Same great cast. Socially distanced. Performing the latest from the mothership. It's All Been Done radio hour. If you saw it last month in April, it was great. If you didn't, you should be a Patreon member. You can check it out there. Anyway, this is Jimmy-Jerome, Andy Batt, Picard, Season 1 discussion on It's All Been Trek Before.
Welcome out to a special episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. I'm one of your regular hosts, Jimmy-Jerome, and I'm here with special guest, Mr. Andy Batt.
Hello.
We're going to talk some Star Trek Picard for you. Spoiler, if you have not seen the season, we're going to talk about the whole season, including the finale. So don't listen. I did want to mention before we get started, there were 2 publications they released in anticipation of Star Trek Picard, and I read them both, and I felt like I should toss them in here. There was the Countdown comic book, which was 3 issues, and it was Picard during the Romulan mission meeting the Tal Shiar agents that would become the work staff on his vineyard. And that one was fine. It wasn't great, but it was fine. And then there was the novel, The Last Best Hope, which took from Picard giving up the Enterprise to start the rescue mission till his resignation 4 or 5 years into the rescue mission. And that book is one of the best Trek novels I've ever read. It's cool. Fantastic. The first chapter, that was my biggest question when the series started. Why would Picard give up the Enterprise?
Yeah,
and
right.
It is satisfactorily answered in this book, in the first chapter. Basically, it plays into his ego and his hubris, and he thinks he's the only one that can execute this rescue mission, but the Enterprise itself is politically charged, so they won't let him take the Enterprise to do it.
Yeah.
So he leaves his crew behind, and Worf becomes the captain of the flagship.
Oh, nice.
And there's a really touching scene where he has one last chance to make a move with Beverly, and he blows it. And they say goodbye. Yeah, so it's mainly him on the rescue mission. We get to know Raffi really well. We get to check in with Geordi LaForge, who's running the Mars shipyards throughout the novel. And meet, you get to see Girardi and her affair with Bruce Maddox, and really sets up a lot of that stuff. See Elner as a little boy.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend the novel. I think it was fantastic.
So the novel follows, it sounds like it follows the basic premise of following along the Kelvin, well, I guess what predates the Kelvin timeline, what caused the Kelvin timeline of the Star Trek movies, of Spock trying to save the Romulan homeworld from the supernova, and the red matter, blah, blah, blah. It goes back in time, and that starts the Kelvin timeline movies.
Yeah, Spock makes a very brief cameo in the book as he's fleeing Romulus. We don't see him get on the ship and go into the Kelvin universe.
Okay.
That part's just not mentioned.
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's all during this.
I think it's interesting that they made that pretty much canon going forward through regular Trek, right? Like I thought that was interesting that they took that, and which makes sense that they would, because it is the Spock we know who had that mission, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the Kelvin universe is canon. It's just the alternate canon, which to me makes absolutely no sense why it's canon, because just too many unexplainable things happened in that first movie to bring everybody together. But that's fantasy and sci-fi for you, right? As much as you're about to tear Picard apart, I would spend hours tearing apart those movies. Except Beyond. I love Beyond.
What's interesting to me, though, is because we've talked a lot about this, is that to me, Picard, and more so even Discovery, feel more like the Kelvin movies than they do actual Trek, to me.
So I think the opposite. I felt like when Discovery came along, we were getting back to Trek after the Kelvin took us into action adventure territory.
I had to research to find out exactly what I was like. Is this Kelvin Trek? No. Because it did not look like Star Trek. It didn't feel like Star Trek. The Klingons looked more like aspects of the show felt more like the Kelvin design aspects, you know. So like I had to research to be like, okay, is this actual like you know what I mean?
See, I get your point on the design that it all looks flashier, but I feel like Discovery tries a lot harder to match Trek and look than the Kelvin does. I mean, the bridge of the Enterprise in Discovery compared to the bridge of the Enterprise in the Kelvin movie.
For sure, if you're going to talk the Enterprise, but like in general, I think and we're getting out in the weeds already, but the technology, everything just seems slicker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It seems futuristic. It seems, if you count Voyager as the last Trek TV show, you know, in their timeline, then the tech seems so far beyond the tech in Voyager. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it just looks slicker. It looks cleaner. It's all that stuff.
Yeah, I think what they're trying to do, and this is a very hard needle to thread, and this is why the tech isn't what I obsess on when I can decide whether to consider it. I mean, if you make a show that looks like it was filmed in the 90s or the 60s now, people aren't going to want to watch that.
No, you're absolutely right. It's a tough needle to thread, without a doubt.
I mean, I will say the Orville looks like it was made in the 90s half the time, and I still enjoy that.
But, you know, it's camp. It's a little camp, right? And they're definitely not going for camp with this.
Right. So
we should go on to Picard.
Yes. One last mention is the short trek Children of Mars.
Yeah.
Little girls. I thought that really beautifully set up Picard. Might be my favorite short trek to date.
Yeah, I think that might have been my favorite too. It was really well done. And like no dialogue in it, right?
There was very little.
Or like right in the beginning when they talk to their parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really well done. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and honestly, I thought Picard started out really good. I liked the 3-hour setup. I thought it followed up well on the events of the short. Mm-hmm. I love the housekeeper. I'm trying to remember her name real quick.
I pulled up the cast.
Laris. Yeah. She's immediately one of my favorite Trek characters.
Yeah, I like her a lot too.
And Picard's whole investigation was interesting, and his argument with Admiral Clancy and all of that. I dug that a lot. And I know we're going to skip through the season really quickly, but I even liked the Data flashbacks. I liked the new characters and introduced them. And I'd say I was really, really enjoying it and thinking it was pretty solid all the way up through the Ryker Troy episode, which is probably my favorite episode of the season.
Oh yeah. That was, I had nitpicks with just a lot of little things all the way up. I mean, through the whole thing. I think, and let me preface everything by saying I enjoyed it and I liked it. You know, and that could just be because I'm a crazy Trek fan. You know, like it's who I am. I enjoy Trek, and I'll pull apart any Trek series. Like they've all got so many problems.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah. And I always wonder, would I like Discovery and Picard even more if I weren't such a Trek fan? Like, I wonder what my impression of the shows would be. You know what I mean? If I didn't have the baggage of this is what I think Star Trek should be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that being said, I enjoyed it a lot. I had a lot of questions. Picard didn't quite feel like Picard to me. From just a lot of, I find it hard to believe he didn't contact Rafi for all that time. He didn't contact the Romulan nuns for all that time. He's only seen Riker or talked to Riker once or twice in the last 14 years.
It felt like he was on regular contact with Riker because the Astra knew him well and
visited him. I mean, since because their kid died and all that stuff. But
I think if he hadn't gone out to visit them, but he had been in communication on screen.
I didn't, and I'm sure the book probably gives more of that backstory of him, kind of being a little broken, right?
Yes.
I never got, aside from what they told me, I never got the feeling that he was broken. You know what I mean? And I think that kept throwing me through the whole thing. It made me feel like a lot of these actions they're telling me that Picard has or has not done don't feel like Picard to me, So that threw me a little early on. But the Ryker episode, yeah, it was awesome.
So
Jonathan Frakes. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, to speak to your point about Picard being broken, I think the broken period was basically the part between the book and the show.
Right.
I think, reading the book, he was the same Picard he always was. He was the captain. He was in charge. And he always has had that ego and that hubris that sometimes blind him, that not everybody thinks the way he thinks. What I love about Deep Space Nine is in Star Trek Next Generation, we got the idyllic view of the 24th century. And Deep Space Nine says, yeah, that's just the Enterprise. Here's what else is going on in the universe.
Right, yeah. There's a bunch of other shit that's happening.
Yeah, and so that book, Last Best Hope, it was still Picard on the Enterprise, even though he wasn't on the Enterprise. Yeah. And at the end, when the rug is pulled out of him and Starfleet, who he has devoted his whole life to, has taken away what has run from its ideals, he is broken, and that's why I buy why he doesn't contact Raffi and all that. But you're right that within that first hour, we see him come alive again because he's been broken so long and now he's ready to be over it. So there isn't time spent with the broken Picard. And I think I would have liked to see a little bit more of that.
Absolutely, for sure, yeah. This is a nitpick I have with both Discovery and this, is there is a lot of millennial vernacular in these shows. I can't, man, Raffi calling him JL just made my butthole pucker. It just, boy, that bothers me a lot.
It took some getting used to.
I never got used to it. I'm just like, man, I just feel like Picard would shut that down immediately. You know what I mean?
I think the book satisfactorily explains that as well.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's the thing, is like, I feel like there's too much of that stuff that we don't get to feel, we don't get. But yeah, it's, it's also interesting the way they've thrown off a lot of the idyllic Trek world. People are drinking, they're using drugs. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, but I thought humanity, and especially Earth humanity, kind of evolved past that. You know what I mean? So that felt a little weird too.
But I think we saw signs of that in other Trek. Just not the Next Generation, not the Picard story.
For sure.
Deep Space Nine, they were drinking all the time.
Right, yeah. That's what I say, like, once we get out there a little bit more, but I felt like Earth culture kind of, it always felt like it kind of moved beyond that. You know what I mean? But
I definitely think we got that impression, but again, I think it was just one of those flawed impressions that we were seeing it through one perspective.
Definitely could be, yeah.
So Ryker, Jonathan Frakes, you're right. He directed a couple episodes of the season before he appeared. And it was so good to see him. I do think Marina Sirtis got a little bit of the shaft because she wasn't listed in the opening credits like he was.
Yeah.
She did just as much as he did in that episode.
If not more, actually. I think she was even more.
She was really excellent in that episode.
Yeah, they both were.
And I normally am not a big child actor fan, but man, Kestra was fantastic.
Yeah, she's not that young.
No, and she has a bazillion credits already.
Yeah, I think she's like 16, 17.
Okay.
Yeah, she's not that young, I don't think.
No, but she was wonderful.
Excellent. She was very excellent. And
I love the log cabin with the shields and the sensors and everything.
Oh man, like, that's the thing. Like, I was never a huge Ryker fan. Like, I didn't dislike him, but I was like, Ryker, whatever. He's Ryker. But yeah, for the moment Picard tells him we're in trouble, he's like, shields up. It was like, bam, he just fell right back into it. Like, he never left. It was great.
And I love when Picard didn't want to tell him what was going on and he guessed it all anyway.
Oh yeah.
And that was without Troy's abilities, which clearly she got it all because she was feeling it. But
what's that? She's Lulu Wilson is her name.
Kestra?
Yeah, and she will be 15 this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to see more of her.
And
good. Not to skip too far ahead, because I do want to keep going in the middle of the season a bit, but I was also super disappointed when Ryker showed up in the finale without Troy. Like, I like that he showed up, but I think Troy got the shaft.
Yeah, well.
She deserves better.
I mean, even for as forward thinking as Trek was going back to the original series, there's always been a good bit of sexism.
Yeah, there has.
I mean, lots of skin tight outfits, lots of short skirts, and,
Yeah, I don't feel like we've gotten a lot of sexism in Discovery, and that I think made the Picard, the Ryker Troy treatment even more jarring.
Yeah, for sure. I was saying to my wife when we were watching season 2 of Discovery, I was like, I think there are. I mean, I haven't counted them. I was like, but I think there are more female main characters in this. If you count like bridge crew, characters with names,
yes,
in this show than there are males. Like probably 2 to 1 even. I'm just guessing off the top of my head. But
yeah, I think the main cast is pretty even, but there's a lot of reoccurring females.
Yeah, women. The heavy hitters.
Yeah, the Navigator and the Khan and Michelle Yeoh's character and
yeah.
Klingon Chancellor.
Yeah, I mean, you got the Admiral and the robot lady and Tilly and it's quite a few.
What do you think of Brett Spiner's role in this season?
I mean, he also fell right back into Data.
Yeah,
as you would think he would. The young the Soong descendant was a little weird. I don't know. Like
Soong descendants are always weird though, and he's played at least 3 of them.
It just felt weird. Like there was just I don't know. Like it. I don't want to say it felt forced. I don't know. Something. I
wanted to know a lot more about how long he'd been on the planet, what he had done exactly on the planet.
Yes.
What Maddox had done exactly on the planet.
Why did Maddox leave the planet? I don't remember that either. Like, why did he go to this very seedy place? I don't.
And did they build I assume they built all the androids there, but how come some of them were super advanced and some of them weren't?
Hey, it's just it's trial and error, right? Like they just didn't destroy any of them. They build them. This one's not this one's not quite up to snuff, but hey, she can mow the lawn.
I get that, but once you get a couple of perfect models, why weren't there more of those?
Maybe they just perfected the perfect ones. Maybe it's very, very recent. I don't know.
It's been 3 or 4 years, since they built the sisters.
Months. Yeah.
And they, for some reason, used the same actress for one of the more basic ones there, which felt weird too.
It was also weird. Yeah, I didn't understand why they did that. Oh, you know what it is? It's because they needed to link that back to Rios.
Right, but I don't know. And I wanted to know why Data painted her too. Like, what is the significance of that face that they keep using that face?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that might have been my overall problem with the series. There was just so many, like, I'm just supposed to accept what you just said without any kind of explanation or understanding or anything. Like, why did the twin androids have these memories of Picard? Like, did they have some kind of a seed from Data's memory or his positronic brain there?
Yeah, they were built off of a neuron from Data.
Okay, so that's why they had it. Okay.
Yes.
That's good. I missed that.
I was super relieved that B4 was in a drawer and not part of the story. Seriously, I was worried.
You didn't need B4.
No, I didn't. I was worried they were just going to make him Data, and I did not want that.
I didn't want that either. I was very worried about that.
But I think using Data as a dream, as Picard's mental facilities were breaking down, and then I think also finding out that his personality had still been alive on a server. I think both of those worked well.
Yeah, the thing about the server, I was wondering, is just like, why is he just there? Like, why not?
They never built him a body and downloaded him again. But again, why?
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 Yeah, why not? Like that seems odd.
I thought it was those last 2 episodes where all of that started to pile up. I felt like before that, I was along for the ride, and I didn't think they were asking us to accept things that didn't make sense too much. But then when we got to the end, it felt like they'd written themselves in a corner and had way more questions that they didn't know how to answer than they had time to answer them.
Yeah. I mean, there was tons of things before then that I was just like, what? Why? What? But they were kind of things that I was willing to go, okay, whatever.
Well, I think Discovery taught me that with both seasons of Discovery. Early in the season, I was like, why are they doing that? That doesn't make sense. And then by the end of the seasons, they had answered that satisfactory to me.
Yeah.
And so I assumed Picard was going to do the same, and it didn't.
No.
And that was disappointing.
No, because like when well, first off, shoot, what's her name? The doctor.
Oh, Agnes Girardi?
Yeah, Girardi, Alison Pill.
Yeah.
When she sees the vision of the synth apocalypse.
Yeah.
And it drives her crazy enough to kill Bruce Maddox, to kill the person she cares for more in this world than any other. But then just looking at Soji, the android, no, that's totally gone, and I'd never hurt you. It's like, oh wow, those are two giant leaps.
Yes.
The one I was like, damn, what did she see that made her want to kill Bruce Maddox? Like, and then when they explained, it might have drove her mad. I was like, okay.
So I wasn't even thinking driving mad. I was thinking she was convinced that if she didn't kill him, this awful thing was going to happen.
Yeah, but still.
And I got that from the way she killed him in that scene. But you're right. Then immediately to be like, oh, Sochi, you're fine. Yeah. That was the weird leap that I didn't get.
Well, that's the thing. Like, would you, and obviously you can't answer in one particular way here, but like, would you kill your wife to save the universe? Yeah, I don't think I would. Like, I don't think I could. Like that's a hard. That's you know what I mean.
That's real rough.
Like, it's hard to kill any person. Period.
And I think there's an argument to be made that once she had done the act on Maddox and lived through it and was horrified by the act, then she couldn't do it again. I get that, but they didn't explain it that way.
They're just tough. Like, they're tough leaps to just go
right
from here to here, right? And then the EMH who pops in, while she's killing him, and she just deactivates him, which doesn't seem like that should be possible. First off, whatever, it's a weird ship, okay. But then the EMH doesn't report that ever to anybody.
Yeah, he does. He does. He tells him.
Like way later though.
Well, next time he comes online.
I'm just saying that seems like a real problem in the system.
Did you enjoy all the different Rios characters?
Yes and no. Like, it was a little too campy at points, but it was an interesting way to go about it. And I think it's another way that I think really gave us an insight into Rios's pathos, and I feel like they could have maybe helped us out a little bit more with that too, kind of explaining that, or not really explaining it, but I guess just more.
I was surprised we didn't get the flashback to his captain's death. Honestly.
I was too. Like, why?
I wanted it.
But we needed it. We did. Like, are you kidding me?
And I don't think they should have connected it to the androids. I think that would have been a more powerful story to just let it stand on its own.
Well, especially with his line at the end, we both did something we never do again. He says, get connected to this captain. Yeah, but I don't really feel that, though, because I never saw it. Show, don't tell. Show, don't tell.
Yeah, when they were all mourning Picard, it didn't really feel earned for most of them.
It didn't. It really didn't. Because
they robbed us of seeing, Ryker and Troy mourn him.
Oh, man, right? Yeah, that's what I wanted. And which, of course, might have been a little cheating since they just resurrected him, but...
I mean, I really wish I hadn't known there was going to be a second season.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Now, half of this crew didn't even seem to like him that much. Honestly. He seemed to annoy them more than anything else. But then when he tells them I'm dying, they're all like, it's like, okay. Yeah, again, that was just kind of the thing, all the way through it, where it was like, all right, I'll let that go because it's Star Trek and it's cool, and it's not like every other Star Trek series doesn't have problems. Like, they've all got problems.
I think the other problem with that resurrection is we saw it coming from a freaking mile away, because they waited till so close to the death to drop it in that you're just like, oh, of course that's what the answer is.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. The android body was like, as soon as it was there, I was like, bingo.
If we'd had some weird Sochi scenes that weren't Sochi, on the android planet at the beginning of the season, and they introduced that as a like little seed and then pick it back up. That would have been a way better storytelling
for sure
than last second.
Yeah.
By the way, we have this golem. Oh, Picard's dead. Let's put him in the golem.
And it also just feels like a little silly. It's like, here's this android body you're gonna have, and it sucks exactly like the body you had before,
except without the brain thing. Other than that,
probably your brain. But that's it. Other than that, you're still gonna have creaky knees. You're still gonna have that little phlegm in the back of your throat like you've had for the last 40 years, like whatever it is. Right?
And you're gonna die in 10 or 20 years.
Yeah. Like it's just. Yeah, it was like, what the hell, man? Come on.
I mean, Data, when he asked Picard to turn him off, made a point about life being precious.
For sure,
and that can tie into why they built Picard that way, except, again, the leap of there was no, like, they made all that decision without any insight into the Picard-Data conversation.
Right. Yes, correct. Yeah, it's just, like, I can't even imagine. Like, especially if, I mean, obviously they do it from a showmanship standpoint, or not showmanship, but just from a standpoint of we're going to continue this series with Patrick Stewart, and he's not going to be able to do crazy android shit because he's an old man. Like, that's obviously why they did it, you know.
Yeah, but we're so close to completely CGI actors. They might as well have just made him an android, and he could just pretend to be human. Like, I feel like the way they set that up, nobody other than the people on that planet and his ship are going to know that he died and that he's synthetic.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think
because otherwise, just everybody would go to that planet to get a synth body.
Yeah.
Well, they also immediately unbanned synthetics after synthetics almost killed them.
Yeah, that was pretty quick, right? That was pretty quick.
And that synthetic Cthulhu or whatever just stops as soon as the signal stops. Like, it doesn't just keep coming. Why? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, can it not, like, was part of their signal, like, the signal needed to open the portal? Or the wormhole or whatever? Like, again, like, just stuff that's just not well explained, and just, I don't know.
The end of that felt like Stranger Things season 1 when the big bad monster was like, oh, I got a glimpse of this world. I'm going to keep coming until you stop me every season. And I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're just going to drop it.
I totally think they are. I think they're going to be like, well, that was wrapped up. On to the next thing, you know?
Well, and part of that is, and there was quite a mess in the writer's room at the end of the season, apparently, and I think that contributed a lot. The showrunner left right after the season ended. And the penultimate episode didn't even have a written by credit in the credits. So you know there was, like, stuff going on. Which, you know, I've read some of Michael Chabon's novels, and they're great. He had no experience as a showrunner, and I worry that was part of the problem.
I would say probably.
I don't know for sure. I wasn't there. I can't. Right. I don't want to leap to those conclusions.
Yeah, who knows? But it definitely wasn't.
Right. And so if he was continuing, and if a lot of the same writers were continuing, then yeah, they should follow up on that. But if you're the new showrunner coming in after that, you don't. You just drop it and move on.
Yep.
And they got Whoopi for season 2. So I'm excited.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I want to see Guinan.
What, you know, and again, not that I have a problem with it, but what was the deal with Rafi and 7 of 9 holding hands at the end? Like,
so we were supposed to infer from 7 of 9's tiff with that woman she killed that 7 of 9 is gay and is having female relationships.
I always got that feeling in Voyager, though, too. So.
Yeah. I don't think that was a leap.
He did have a romance with Chakotay, you know.
Right. Yeah, but that always felt wrong.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah, it's everything with Chakotay felt wrong. But
and Raffi was married, but her marriage to a man, but her marriage was a mess. So I bought that. I just wish we would have seen it develop.
That's what I mean. Yeah, there was no development of it whatsoever, and it was just like, "Hey, we're holding hands." I'm like, "Did they even share any screen time?" Like,
no. I mean, the good part about that to me, seeing 7 stay on the La Sirena and holding hands with Raffi, I feel like 7's got to be a lead in season 2, and I want more of 7.
Oh, me too. I think the way they framed that last shot of the crew on the, like, that was like, this is our season 2 crew.
Yes,
like that's how it felt.
Yes, yeah. I hope it's true. I like that cast.
But yeah, you know, some of the other people that came back, you had Hugh. which I was real bummed he got killed. Or Icheb. Sorry, Icheb.
Oh, yeah. Icheb was a cameo. It was a different actor. Bruce Maddox was a different actor.
Right, yep.
And both of them, I wish, had not been killed as quickly as they had been.
Yeah.
Like Icheb, it was like, that could have been a random Borg. Why did you have to do that to him?
Right, yeah. Or no, it is Hugh. That's what I was thinking about. Hugh, the guy who was
Hugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had more to do in his final episode than the rest of the season leading up to it.
Yeah.
But I wish he had survived too.
Yeah. He just died so
cheap.
Unceremoniously, and then like Picard didn't even seem to care that much that he died, you know?
Yeah, that was frustrating.
Really, really misplayed, I thought.
Hugh's death was probably what I thought was the biggest misstep until the final couple episodes.
Yeah. Oh, totally, yeah.
I'm glad they brought him back, and he had more to do in this than he did in Next Gen. Mm-hmm. So good. And I know he was excited to be back. It's just, yeah.
I was bummed he died. I really wanted to see Seven just commanding a legion of Borg.
Yes. So the one thing I do hope they follow up with in season 2 from this was Seven briefly becoming the Borg Queen.
Yeah.
I want to see what that was about.
What effect that had. Yeah.
Yeah. And also Picard, somebody pointed out that I was reading today that Picard having been a Borg, being a synth should really affect with his head too.
I would think so. I
hope they explore that, and I want them to gloss over a lot of the synth stuff, but I think there's a couple things they should explore while they move on.
I mean, they have to explore it at some point. You can't just ignore that.
Yeah.
You know, like you're being put into another body. Like that's not. Do you watch Westworld at all?
Yes.
So you caught up with at least season 2?
Yes.
So if you remember James Delos, every time they tried to put his consciousness inside of the sheet, it would just degrade. His consciousness would degrade. He'd go insane. I have no doubt they're not going to do that here. But I think that's very realistic. I mean, you look at people who, have body part transplants. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that go on in the human psyche, when shit's moved around that I think would be unrealistic to just ignore.
And especially because Picard already has a history of dealing with stuff like that.
He's had a lot of psychotic stuff happen to him.
I mean, some of the best parts of this season of Picard is when a random Borg calls him Locutus, and he turns and you see the look on his face.
Oh, yeah.
And you just know what's going through the head.
Yeah.
And it's been, 30, 40 years since he was assimilated?
Yeah.
And it's still haunting him.
And all I think whenever I see that, I think about that Borg, and I'm like, dude, come on. have some sympathy, man. Come on. But, they're probably not the most, socially socially aware people.
The other big problem I had with the finale was Commodore O was set up to be an interesting, complex character. And then all of a sudden, she's wearing black, acting super cartoony, villainy, evil, says 2 words, and then gets to fly away.
Yeah, right?
She's the head of Starfleet security.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously she's not going back to that job, but...
I would hope not.
But still, that felt like a weird turn to me.
And the sunglasses were weird.
The sunglasses I actually thought were a hint that she was Romulan.
I guess, yeah. Like, I kind of had that feeling from the get-go, but like, there's some, I don't know, man. It's just sunglasses in Trek just looks weird.
Oh, no, I didn't mind that. I mean, I had the thinking she was probably Romulan from the beginning as well. And I thought that was supposed to, yeah.
They really pushed those ears out, too.
Yeah. No, I liked O up until that final episode. I thought the turn was too severe. I think she should have stayed hidden, and that would have been more interesting moving forward. And what about Clancy? Admiral Clancy.
She was good. She had me guessing. I wasn't sure where she was in all this.
I liked that she was. I completely understood her frustration with Picard.
100%.
Completely. Yeah. And she figures prominently into the book as well. Okay. And she is so trying to support Picard's mission while simultaneously being annoyed by him at every turn. Like, she feels like, why won't you let me help you? Why are you making more problems for us?
Yeah.
You know? And so I get where she's coming from.
Yeah, for sure.
But at the end, she sent the fleet. She did what was right.
Yeah.
So I like a character like that. I liked Clancy. I hope she comes back.
Yeah.
I thought that could have just as easily been Janeway, but I'm kind of glad it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Janeway a lot. So
I do too, but
Janeway. But yeah, I don't think we needed it right there. I think Ryker coming back the way he did, I thought that was perfect.
I mean, honestly, I think we're all clamoring to see more of those 24th century characters.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
So I'm hoping that as the series goes on, we'll get more of that.
Yeah. I think we will. And, honestly, the only two characters I didn't like were the Romulan brother and sister, Rizzo and what's his name?
Narek.
Yeah, I did not like them at all. I did not like that.
Really?
They're kind of pulling a Lannister thing there, which is was really weird and didn't really.
I mean, they didn't go all the way there like the Lannisters.
What's that?
They didn't go all the way there like the Lannisters.
Which is one of the things. Like I didn't understand. It didn't seem necessary, right? It did. Why? I don't get it. But even beyond that, it's like Rizzo shows up every other episode to read Narek the Riot Act after she has royally screwed this up from the beginning.
What happened to her Starfleet uniform? She just dropped her cover at the beginning of the season. Yeah. That was it.
It's gone. Forget it. Yeah, they just their whole thing just seemed weird to me. And
somebody pointed out or thought that the tentacles coming through the break in space looked like some of the control stuff they set up in Discovery Season 2.
No, I can see that.
And wonder if Discovery Season 3 might tie into some of that.
I was actually, I don't know if I read it or I heard it, but that Picard was going to have a lot to do with synth stuff. I was expecting a tie-in from Control. From Discovery. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we get that in Season 2. I think they will try to tie them together a little bit more.
Well, it's definitely possible. I mean, you could very well make the leap that, Control, and with all the time travel stuff in Discovery, maybe this ancient, faraway synth was actually Control somehow got put into this far end of space 100,000 years ago, 100 million years ago, whatever the hell long it is, But you never know. Like that.
Well, the where the tentacles are coming from, they said that race existed outside of time and space. So that opens up some possibilities.
Yeah, the podcast guys I listened to, they had an interesting thought. They were like, they were wondering if, these could be like synth cues, and like you could have like this battle of the cues we know versus the synth cues, organic cue versus synth cue.
There was a lot of rumor going around when in the Ryker Troy episode that Kestra was talking about the captain that was retired living across the lake.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people were hoping that was Q.
Yeah. Could be.
And he's just there messing with Ryker on a regular basis.
It really seemed like we were going to get on his ship, right? Like, didn't it? Like, it was just like they kept talking about it. And I was like, and then no, nothing. But maybe they're setting him up for future seasons. Who knows?
I mean, I hope so, because I want to go back to that log cabin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a great cabin. It's a great
Riker's fleet. Did you hate that every ship was exactly the same?
Yes. First off, I hate that both of these fleets were so freaking big.
Yeah.
I mean, Wolf 359.
It's like 40 ships.
Yeah, and that was like the greatest Starfleet fleet ever assembled. Federation fleet ever assembled. And now you're talking there's like 200 versus 200 ships. Like, come on.
I mean, this is decades later, but yeah, it was really big for this initial one planet, one showdown. For a whole war, maybe, but not this.
Yeah, these armadas, the size just feel, I don't know. It just is one of those things. Just feels weird. Like it feels like overkill. And like I said, and all of them looking the same. I mean, that was the thing about any time you get a flashback or whatever, or when it actually happened in the Wolf 359 battle. Like, it's just like seeing all these other ships, and the different classes of ship. Like, that's cool. Like, that is cool. Like, let's see those.
Yeah, I don't. I felt like, to me, it felt like they just ran out of time and money, so they just duplicated.
There was just somebody there with just hitting Control C over and over.
Yep.
Control C, Control V.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah, that's exactly what it felt like. And then, oh man, yeah, it was just. And since Can Mind Meld, really? That felt.
Yeah, you just learned how.
You just learn how to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that seemed odd too.
That was goofy. The magical repair tool.
That seems super convenient.
Like what? Is Peter Pan involved in this thing now? Like, all you need is your imagination to make it work. Like,
yeah, that made no sense.
Because now I hope the ship should never break down now, right?
Right.
Ever.
I mean, it could break, but they should be able to fix it.
Yeah, we don't even need the EM engineer now, right?
Right. Which is too bad because, again, I liked all the different emergency whatever holograms. Yeah. And I thought the guy that played Rios, he might have been one of the MVP actors this season.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
He was wonderful.
Yeah.
I wanted more of him. I wanted more of Raffi. I wanted more of those people.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully we get to explore them a little bit more.
Well, they didn't even finish introducing the main cast till halfway through the season. Like, by the time Elnor showed up and...
It took a long time to get that crew together.
Yeah.
So, well
we've done a lot of negative. What were your favorite parts of the season?
The favorite parts were definitely like the cameos, like those moments, like that just kind of tugged on your heartstrings, or like I said, Ryker with like shields up, roller, yellow, whatever. It was just like yeah, that's great.
Were you sad when Picard died?
You're making a pizza. Step out, but he's just like immediately cocks his head up like he's talking to the computer. Like, where's the computer? It doesn't matter,
The like venomous bunny corns.
Now, if he had said Alexa, shields up, that would have been great.
That would have been pretty cool. And set off everybody's devices.
Yeah, right.
Were you moved by Picard's death? Emotionally?
Not really. Just because I knew what was coming. I just knew what they were gonna do, so it didn't really hit me that hard.
I got caught up in the moment. I did. Yeah. I was teary. I couldn't help it.
I can see that. The data conversation at the end, that to me that really got me more.
Good.
And data basically saying, kill me, basically. Like that's the one that really, I think that got me more than that.
It was a great argument for assisted suicide.
Absolutely. So yeah, those moments were great. Just seeing Patrick Stewart back in the character.
Yes.
Is just great. Even though I feel like, again, he does seem, and it's an older guy, he does seem a lot different to me. He doesn't feel as much like Picard, but he had some really great Picard moments. Like, I would really like them to get past this hubris Picard a little bit in season 2.
So a lot of the other moments he had, the hubris, I do think we saw signs of him getting past that. I think with this crew, he'll be different than he was. And I think there was a lot of development of him before the series ended, where in the next gen, he was very separated from the crew. Absolutely. But in the series finale and in the films, he was much more their friend.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think that got us to the point where Data's death could affect him so deeply. And it clearly affected him as much as the Locutus incident.
For sure.
Or the ships being blown up. Yeah. So, I think there was a lot of good development there. I want to see further development. Are you excited for season 2?
I am. Yeah. I get excited for all of these. Like I said, I got nitpicks. I got problems, that I'll boil down. But at the end of the day, it's still Trek, and I love Trek. And I'll keep watching them as long as they keep making them. I'll keep watching them.
Oh, me too. And with a new showrunner, I think that gives us some new opportunity.
Yeah.
I hope they don't toss out everything from season 1.
No. My thing is, I just want to see them, just because it's a different age of television now. I want to see them execute these plots better. I want to see them, because there's just no excuse for it.
Yeah.
You dumping all of that money into the production value, the plot and the writing are the things that should be easier to do, but apparently they're not. And especially because you're doing it in that 10 episode format that kind of puts you into that more prestige television feel. It's not a 22 episode season.
So some of those prestige short season shows, the writer writes the whole thing ahead of time before they start production, and they have really closed-ended vision. And this, it felt like there were a lot of hands in the pot, and they started filming the season before they had the ending figured out. And then they were already in production. You can't stop the moving train. You just got to finish it. And so I hope there's more thought put into season 2 ahead of time.
But not everybody's Vince Gilligan.
No.
I've heard of a lot of showrunners trying that since Vince Gilligan did it so expertly with Breaking Bad. And it's like, you're not Vince Gilligan, man. Like, the guy's a special talent, and you can't do it. Like, don't do it. Just stop.
I mean, I do tend to write that way with my own show, Radio Hour. But I don't attempt anything as grand a scale as these things are.
Yeah, and you're also.
If I did, I'd be in trouble.
Yeah, you're also not responsible for a multi-million-dollar production here.
No.
Like, that's the thing too, like, when you get to that level, boy, you better deliver, you better execute.
I trashed Michael Chabon, whatever, earlier a bit, but I think there were a lot of great ideas in this season that rather than trashing him, what I would hope for him is I just wish they'd had an old hat, experienced expert in there to help him clean up and finish the ending.
Yeah.
I think that's what was lacking. I'm not saying he was a bad showrunner. He just needed more assistance in tying things up.
Probably needed a steady hand.
Yes. Needed more help than he got.
Yeah. Maybe. Who knows?
And part of that could be because their attention's splintered making 4 or 5 different shows right now.
That could be too. Yeah.
I mean, I'm really looking forward to they finished filming Discovery season 3 before the quarantine, but they didn't finish all the post-production stuff like scoring it, and they can't get an orchestra together, so that season's on hold.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we've got Michelle Yeoh going into production this year, her spinoff, and the animated series is on its way, so
that'll be fun. Good.
Yeah.
More. I'm all about more.
And the rumors have been in overdrive about doing a Captain Pike spinoff. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen.
He was great. He was great.
Anson Mount was fantastic as Pike.
Awesome.
So I really want to see more of that journey leading up to him ending up in the wheelchair.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like,
especially now that he knows that's where his journey ends.
Yeah, I thought that was a really nice touch.
Yeah.
To show him what was going to happen. That was a nice touch in that.
Well, anyway, I think we've probably droned on enough, but I appreciate you taking the time to break down Picard with me.
Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, always.
I'm
Good
always
times.
up to talk Trek.
Me too. Well, take care. Have a good night, and all you listeners will be back for the Next Generation Season 2 in the near future.
See you about later.
We always end with live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's Got the Time?